Welcome to another RSR. Tonight, this is the one I think you've been waiting for over the past week. The roster reaction to the Canadian 2022 World Cup roster. It's finally here. You got your 26-man roster for Canada. They're going to Qatar. It's real. Very real. So, paper pop, let's get into it. Starting with the goalkeepers. A little bit of a shocker, but not really if you watched MLS Cup. But here we are. Milan Borjan plays for Red Star Belgrade, of course. Crvena Zvezda in Serbia. Milan Borjan, of course, he's going. James Panamis playing for CF Montreal. And Dane St. Clair playing for Minnesota United. It is what it is, frankly. Crepeau got hurt MLS Cup, broke his leg. Think tibia is the lower part of the leg, but it was a clean break. So, of course, he's not going. Sad to see. Our other two goalkeepers, if they play, Canada's up the creek without the paddle. We know this. I'm not mad about it. Crepeau could have kept us alive in a game if he played. I think he's good enough to do that had he been healthy. Sadly enough, he's not. Dane St. Clair, you saw what happened against Bahrain. I don't think he's a World Cup level. I don't. Made mistakes in MLS Cup playoffs. Put Minnesota out, pretty much. Punching a ball over that led to the goal by Quignon. Then it went to penalties, so on and so forth. Did the same thing against Bahrain. I don't think he's ready. I don't think he's ready. Hopefully, those are some learning experiences, but I don't want to see him play at the World Cup. James Panamis has been shaky. The fact that he's Montreal's starter is really only by default because Breza was even more shaky than him. So yeah, Montreal may have been good, but it was not because of James Panamis. So one of those two play, Canada's up the creek without the paddle. Even in the third place game, if they somehow make it that far. They won't, I'm just saying. That one really doesn't matter, but it kind of matters. But whatever. They won't make it that far. My point. It was just my point. Defenders. Sam Adekugbe playing for Hatayspor in Turkey. Derek Cornelius playing for Panathinaikos of Greece on loan from the Vancouver Whitecaps. Alistair Johnston playing for CF Montreal. Richie Laryea playing for Toronto FC on loan from Nottingham Forest. Kamal Miller playing for CF Montreal. Steven Vittoria playing for Chaves in Portugal. And Joel Waterman playing for CF Montreal. Joel Waterman in the squad for Daniil Henry. Daniil Henry chose to give his spot away in the squad. Has a knock tightness in his calf. Somewhere in the leg, again. But he gave away his spot on the squad. He's still going as a coach, a mental support, but he's not playing. That spot goes to Joel Waterman. Defenders-wise, it's good. It's normally what we have. You got Richie. You got Kamal Miller, Steven Vittoria, Alistair Johnston. I think we know our four starters. Maybe Sam Adekugbe. I think I'd go with Alistair. But we'll get there. I will talk about the starting 11 in my book and the big subs, the ones who will play a lot, I think. But for me, the defending looks pretty stout. What we've had for the past couple of months. Yeah, I know Daniil, but Daniil hadn't really even played at all in the past 4 months. He went to Toronto to try to stay fit to the World Cup, and they didn't even play him. Barely. Came home, and they didn't even play him. Barely, which is sad. But it is what it is. Defenders look pretty stout. I'm not mad about that. There's nothing I can really rant about there. Hell, on this roster, it doesn't really seem like there's anything I can rant about. It's pretty much what you expect, but I'm just giving my thoughts. Midfielders. Steven Eustáquio playing for FC Porto in Portugal. Liam Fraser playing for Dainsa in Belgium. Atiba Hutchinson playing for Besiktas in Turkey. The troubadour, Atiba Hutchinson. Mark Anthony Kaye playing for Toronto FC. Ismail Kone playing for CF Montreal. And his rookie season goes to the World Cup. Or his rookie professional season goes to the World Cup. Jonathan Osorio playing for Toronto FC. Or under the books of Toronto FC, at least for the World Cup. Then he'll probably go to Europe is what it sounds like. But right now, he is a TFC player. In the eyes of FIFA, they will get paid for him being there. TFC. That's true. as long as Canada's at the World Cup. This is true. Samuel Piette playing for CF Montreal. And David Wotherspoon playing for St. Johnstone in Scotland. That one, okay. I don't know if he plays much. The midfield is pretty loaded for Canada, I would say. I mean, you got Eustáquio, Atiba, and Kone. Then you got Oso and Marc-Anthony Kaye and Piette, if need be. And then Fraser and Wotherspoon are kind of on the outside looking in. I honestly would rather Fraser play than Kaye, frankly. And that's me as a Toronto fan saying that. I think Marc-Anthony Kaye's been absolute crap since he's came over to Toronto. I know he got hurt for a while, but when he's played, he's been crap. He's been crap. He was crap against Bahrain. He's been crap when he played for TFC. He's not that good. He's not that good. I don't know what happened. It's shocking. He was good for the Rapids. He was good for LAFC. Bacala wanted him back. Came back to Toronto. He's not been good for about 4 months. Injured or not been good. So I really don't want to see him play in the World Cup. But again, we'll get to that. We'll get to that, what my 11 would be, so on and so forth. But other than that, midfielders, it's going to be, he ain't starting, I can tell you that much. Kaye ain't starting. You have your starters, then you have your second tier, then you have your cold day in hell players. Again, I wouldn't say up the creek without a paddle, but you get my point. Then finally, the forwards. Tajon Buchanan of Club Brugge. Lucas Cavallini of the Vancouver Whitecaps, a.k.a. Mr. Fubar. Going to the World Cup. Can't believe it, can we? Jonathan David playing for Lille. Alphonso Davies playing for Bayern Munich. Under playing as a forward. Could be interesting. Junior Hoylett playing for Reading in England, the championship. Kyle Lurin playing for Club Brugge in Belgium as well. Liam Miller playing for FC Basel in Switzerland. And Ike Ubo, the last man on the squad by position, the 26th man. Probably better than that, but who knows. Playing for Troyes in France. Forwards, pretty good. I'm surprised they put Alfonso under forwards. Now, I did get this off of Sportsnet. I didn't transcribe this from the Canadian graphic, which could be the reason why he's under forwards. Sportsnet, well, hell, they spelled Liam Miller wrong, so didn't even catch that until now. So, maybe that's why they have Alfonso under forward, but could be interesting if Canada actually is going to play him as a forward. Could be interesting, because then that takes away one of Larin, David, or Buchanan. We'll see where that goes. But for me, that's kind of like you're taking away one of those three. Now, to me, do I think it's probably Larin with his form? If they go that route, Davies, David, and Buchanan up top, they go that route with Davies as a forward, yes. I don't know if he plays forward, though. Again, as well, Mr. Fubar, Lucas Cavallini. If he plays any minutes in the World Cup, we better be winning by a lot or losing by a lot. Because I don't know why he's on the roster. I know injuries could happen. I know. It's the middle of the season. I know. Yeah, he did score technically against Bahrain. That's Bahrain. At least he made it a draw, though. Liam Miller, he ain't going to play much. Junior Hoylett, Ike Ubo, I think Hoylett has a better chance to play. Ubo, I think he could play as a super sub, but then again, you also have Larin, who might just be on the outside looking in as a super sub, depending on the way Herdman plays this. So, it depends on the situation, I guess. Against Croatia, I think Larin would be better starting. Against Belgium, I think the front three of Davies, David, Buchanan probably would be better, which I guess if we're talking about starting 11 for the first game, yeah, there you go. See? Figured it out. Maybe against Morocco too, but Croatia seems like the game that Larin would start, to be honest. I think he does start a game. I don't know if he starts all three or whatever more there is after that. I don't know if he starts all 3, all 4, or all 5. I'd say 5's a good number. Quinto partido, I'd say 5's a good number. But I do think he starts when the situation calls for it. Croatia's probably one of those. Belgium, with their back line, with how old that back line is and how susceptible that back line is, I think you bring out Davies, David, Buchanan as a front 3, which I think that's pretty smart, tell you the truth. I think that's actually pretty smart. But back to it. Speaking of, since we're already talking about the first game, starting 11, let's do it. In goal, Milan Borjan, hands down, obviously. That's no question. Why would he not be in the starting 11? I would say 4-3-3, especially for the Belgium game. But Milan Borjan in goal to start. Back 4, I'm going to go with left back Alistair Johnston, center backs Kamal Miller and Steven Vittoria, Richie Larea at right back, midfield Atiba, Hutchinson, Ishmael Kone, and Steven Eustachio in the midfield. I think that'd be the perfect midfield for the World Cup, to be honest. I don't want K to start. Oso, if he earns a start against Japan, that's good in my book, but he's still recovering from the post-concussion symptoms pretty much, whatever his neurological problem is. I'm going to say post-concussion symptoms, but that's pretty much layman's terms, but very similar, I guess. Again, not a doctor. It is what it is. And then finally, the forwards, I would agree. This probably makes sense. Alphonso Davies, Tejan on the wing, striker Jonathan David against Belgium. This is the first game, not the full starting 11, but this is how I would start the World Cup. First game, starting 11. I think that makes sense. Subs in that game, I would say Oso, because I still think he deserves that. Larin, if need be. Ubo, if need be. Adekugbe, if need be. And Piet. I trust Piet to close the game out more than Mark Anthony Kaye at this point. I know that's sacrilege. I know that is sacrilege, but damn it, Kaye sucks. He sucks. He sucks right now. I'm going to commit sacrilege only because I know Mark Anthony Kaye sucks right now. So I will gladly commit sacrilege in that case. Samuel Piet, hopefully to close out a game from midfield with Atiba and Eustachio, or Atiba and Kone, depending if they want to take out Eustachio, if they need to close out the game. It's not great, but I kind of stick with 4 subs and not use the 5th, but you may have to use it anyway. Piet would be that 5th guy, and more just close it out type thing. So, yeah, that's what I think about the Canadian roster. I'm happy with it. There's nothing I'm really shocked about. It's a pretty simple Canadian roster. The only thing really shocking is Crépeau isn't there. If you've been living under a rock for a week, it'd be shocking, but you know what I mean by that. That's the only thing that, if you asked me 3 months ago, if you showed me this roster, what would I be shocked by? It'd be Crépeau. That's about it. Everything else, Daniil, I could have seen him losing his World Cup spot. Anyway, that doesn't shock me. I don't think Mark Anthony Kaye should be there, but that is what it is. He's honestly there because besides what we have, what else do we have in midfield? Still not really there yet. Well, you want to play Jaden Nelson? Actually, if we're being honest, though, Jaden Nelson played better in midfield while Kaye was injured than when Kaye was in Toronto playing. So, you know what? You could play him in that position, but okay, all right. Fair enough. But for me, nothing really surprising. I'm happy with the Canadian roster. They got a good 26-man squad. They'll do what they have to do. They'll run through walls for John Herdman. Doesn't really change my thoughts about Canada or what happened against Bahrain. Really doesn't change my thoughts. It's a good squad. It's a good team. Can't wait to see how they play against Japan pre-World Cup. And then when it matters, let's see how they play. That's the way I see it. So with that being said, if you like this video, like it, share, subscribe. You know what it is. Tell your friends. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell notification once subscribed. Send super chats on the live streams. Comment on this video. Put us in playlist. Share with friends and family. All that great stuff. Next time I see you, the whole lot of you. Of course, we do have month ahead for my memberships. My members, my Dynasty Stars. That'll be out tomorrow. But with that being said, next time I actually see the lot of you, make a full-on video, will probably be the Mexican World Cup roster. I'm sure that'll come out before Canada plays Japan. I'd be shocked if it doesn't. We got, what, 3 days for that to happen? So I'm guessing probably the 14th, 15th, 16th, that Mexican roster comes out. Then on the 17th, of course, I'll be live for Canada-Japan and reviewing that game. And, of course, the 18th off, 19th, we do a World Cup predictions video. And then the 20th is the first World Cup game. So, I'll see you then. We're getting there. Be here before you know it. With that being said, I'm Ryan and I'm out. Peace. See you.